I'm Ariel Hyatt, and this is the Cyber PR Music Podcast, Dispatches for the New Music Business. This show is all about helping independent artists stop chasing buzz and start building bonds, real fan relationships that lead to income and long-term, fulfilling careers.
Welcome to the Cyber PR Podcast. I am so excited to have Emily White here with us today. Welcome, Emily White.
Thank you so much for having me.
Most artists are chasing visibility. More streams, more followers, more buzz. That is the reason why I wrote this book. You are an ecosystem thinker, and I wanted to take us through today the 7 first steps of my 9-step bond marketing funnel.
Absolutely.
Before we get into it, can you give us a little bit of background about what's been happening and who you are?
Yeah, for sure. Like you, I'm a best-selling author of a book called How to Build a Sustainable Music Career and Collect All Revenue Streams. I also host a hit podcast that has the same name. I run a nonprofit called Impact Data and Events that uses data in the music industry to increase voter turnout and positively impact other nonprofit causes through free concerts and digital activations. And I'm a founding partner at Collective Entertainment here in New York City, where really mostly my business partners crush it on management and consulting. And that company also houses my books and speaking and podcast.
Amazing. Last year, I got really angry. Anger created book. The anger was centered around having what felt like my millionth conversation about Spotify and getting on playlists and TikTok, and the conclusion that a lot of artists were coming to, which was, I got 1.8 million hits, but I can't put 30 people in a venue outside my hometown. And I began to just feel like we've lost the plot. We've lost the plot because we're focused on the wrong thing. In this episode, I want to focus back on the right things.
Yeah.
So we're going to start at the very top of the funnel. And I start it with identity, because I feel like if an artist doesn't understand their brand, who the fans are, and what the voice of the identity is, we're all building our house on sand without a real infrastructure.
That's right.
How important is clarifying your identity before you dive into all the other bits?
I know what you mean, but I think the words brand can probably make artists a little bit nervous too. I think identity is really important for sure. What's going to be most effective for the long term is being your genuine self. That's what's going to connect with people. I wouldn't overthink the brand part too much. Without getting too into it, you have to listen to your intuition. I'm able to do that by getting a good night's sleep, practicing daily movement, hydrating, a short meditation. I meditated for 5 minutes at your kitchen table before doing this. And that's where you can really find that inner voice, that intuition. You might be in the short term, but you're not going to be successful in the long term doing things that you think you should be instead of just being yourself.
That is the core of actually what a brand is about.
100%.
Yeah. After you decide or identify or put words to brand, there has to be where the brand meets the fans. And that is defining and identifying who's out there and why you should be connecting to them.
Yeah.
And I know you've worked with so many artists, and now you're working in cause-based work. How are you looking to connect? It's funny when you think of like voters, they're not fans, but it's still about having something that you know needs to reflect out and bring in people.
Yeah, I totally think of voters as fans. And I don't know if it's confusing the voting community, but like I keep describing the direct to fan campaigns we're creating in the digital space and voting. But it's an important parallel because you know this better than anyone. There are a million songs released a week. It's so upsetting. Without getting too into it, we've built a data model with Johns Hopkins that shows the top trending artists in any location with the most unregistered and non-voting fans. And that's how we make the largest impact. We collectively, that's how one makes the largest impact on elections, is registering and turning out new voters. And so what we find in that data, we're here in Manhattan right now. Like what people are listening to in the Bronx is different from Staten Island. It's different in different neighborhoods in Brooklyn. You talked at the beginning about artists chasing visibility or chasing streams. We live in this long tail culture and everybody's in their own algorithm. It sounds kind of messed up to say or counterintuitive, but you need to be finding the humans directly and not just chasing numbers
Right.
because someone that's going to be interested in Ariel's books or Lana's music is going to be interested in Lana. So it's like you need to find those people that are connecting and not I have 1.8 million followers or I have 1.8 million views. That's meaningless. Tech companies are the most valuable companies in the world because they have all of our data. And so they're using artists and, dare I say, content and us to fuel their businesses. And we need to use those platforms to get mobile phone numbers to drive to your email list. So you need to use those platforms the way they are using you.
Perfect segue into the second level of the bond marketing funnel, which is a social media and a website and online tune-up.
Yes.
Because if your fan journey is confusing or if people don't understand what they're looking at, they go away.
Yeah.
How do you direct artists through understanding how important these ecosystems are and how do we keep artists on point, especially in today's insane world of I have a single, it's very different from my last single. Now I have a new look around the single. It's very
Yeah.
easy, I think, to get fragmented quickly.
Yeah, for sure. Don't forget the first step, which is getting your art together.
Yes, of course. Yeah.
When there's a million songs released a week, your art has to be amazing, which to me, again, for the long term, that's a reflection of your heart, your soul, your spirit in musical or artistic form. That's what's going to connect with folks for the long term. You have to think of yourself as a tech company, which sounds so gross, right? But have your own website, be just like a machine for data collection, for mobile phone numbers, for email addresses, and authentically connect with your audience as best you can. That could also be starting a podcast. We managed an artist who didn't feel like he was connecting enough with his fans on social media. So I know a few artists that have started podcasts, and it's like they wanted to share more about their art, they wanted to share more about their music. It's easy to skip to the marketing stuff and the promo stuff, but start with your art, connect with your audience, collect as much of their direct fan contact information as possible. And that's kind of it. That's the bond.
That's the bond. And the third step in the funnel is what I call capture buckets. So I started thinking about capture buckets.
Mhm.
And anytime you look at an artist, you will really quickly notice that the capture buckets are likely owned by Mark Zuckerberg or Elon Musk or some company in China that we don't even know the name of, or Google. That's the giant failure point.
Yes.
So when you think about how to advise artists on capture buckets, what comes to mind other than the very obvious of have an email list?
Sure. So really to drill these points home. So our nonprofit before was called hashtag I voted and we had an I voted podcast. And long story short, Seth Godin was a guest on the podcast who literally invented permission marketing and everything we're talking about. So not surprisingly, he said it better than I ever had. When we're talking about streaming companies and social media companies, you are the product. And they're never going to give you the mobile phone number. They're never going to give you the email list. That's where you have to turn those things around and create those authentic bonds that aren't just views and even streams. It's like it's collecting that information so you can communicate directly, so you can cut through the noise. And again, not to digress too much, it's like that is exactly what we're doing in the voting space. We have figured out which artists have what are called the most low propensity voters. We are partnering with those artists. We're building this scalable digital campaign where each artist gets their own direct to fan voting page. And we piloted it last fall for the New York City mayoral race. And there were a lot of Bronx rappers in our data. Like Dion and Daytona get their own voting pages and they're like, register to vote with Dion, register to vote with Daytona. And then we collect those fans' phone numbers and email addresses. And with the artist's permission, then we're sending out, hey, early voting is open. It's Dion. Like voting is more fun for your friends. Bring your friends to your polling location. We take them through the funnel through election day, which is exactly what you teach, right? You create that bond, you get that direct pipeline. And then who doesn't get text from Beyonce, right? With like a new merch drop and tickets. that permission-based marketing is so precious
Yeah.
because it's our time, it's our attention. So that's what you need to be cultivating, even though the numbers thing is literally built to be addicting. And again, like in the pre-digital era, you could read numbers in Rolling Stone or Billboard or whatever, but it didn't say at the record store, like REM has sold 3 million copies.
That was very much an industry thing.
That's right.
It was like the industry number and the way that information was seen was
Yeah.
private.
Yeah.
And this has been turned on its head now. And
Exactly.
it's been made public.
Yeah.
Which is part of the dopamine problem. So it's like when you see 100,000 of something, that feels good somehow. It's like eating 100,000 potato chips. You feel good in the short term, but in the long term, you might not feel so good.
That's right. Yeah.
Quick thing, if you're trying to figure out how to actually make money from your music, I've got a free training for you. In it, I break down how to move from chasing streams and followers to building real fans who actually support you. You can watch it right now at the link in bio or at cyberprmusic.com. Click on free webinar. Go check it out. It'll connect the dots.
So moving on down into the fourth part of the bond marketing funnel is something that you and I have talked about at length. Talk to me about email. I think there's still a tremendous amount of resistance. Artists are like, it's a newsletter. I don't like newsletters. I don't want to bother
Sure.
people. I don't want to interrupt people. I don't like other people's emails. And then there also tends to be a lot of confusion around what text messaging services to use and how do they sign up. There's a lot of tech stopping. So I'd love to hear your opinion on either or both.
Again, it goes back to that authenticity. What are you trying to communicate? And I hope it's not pre-save. No offense to that. You should be monetizing your music before it's even out in the form of pre-orders. If you pay attention to the biggest artists in the world, they are all running long lead pre-orders, which is different from pre-saves, because that's where you're going to have the highest profit margins on your releases and collect the most fan data. In direct to fan email list situation, you have a little more space to say things than a text. Getting that EP out to everyone that it's coming is super important. Why? Share why it's important. Tell them why it's important. Why are you excited to play that show? Why are you excited to come to their town? It's all different, right? There's artists that write full on letters and are partially nude on their email list. Those examples are like artists being authentic to themselves. And again, communicating directly instead of just relying on algorithms or paying Meta tons and tons of money so people can see it.
Yeah.
So simple, you guys. Create great art, connect with your audience directly, collect all of their contact information in the form of mobile phone numbers and emails, and communicate with them about your great art. Rinse and repeat. That's the bond.
So step 5, there's still this confusion. I'm confused around how do you get someone that's truly passive and they're following you for your cowboy boots or your cat, or they think you're hot, to like super fan.
Yeah.
Luminate says 5 touch points.
Interesting. I would say you might not get them, and that's okay. That's why a lot of not big artists are focused on streaming. They're going to find you on streaming.
Yes.
Don't worry about them. Pay attention to the ones that are like, when are you coming to Milwaukee? When are you coming to this place? And also, those super fans want to support you in the best way possible, but they don't know how unless you tell them. So when you launch a long lead pre-order, if you have a clear vision for your release, it's this is my heart, this is my soul, this is my child. Please spread the word. Like, this pre-order is the best way to support me. And if you are hitting the home studio, and you don't have a clear vision for your release, you can launch a Patreon and be like, I'm hitting the studio. I want to keep you in the loop, which could be like taking a picture of an instrument, right? Like, it doesn't have to be 24/7 live stream. And then on the day of your release, be on streaming, but share with your text list, share with your email list. Use those social media platforms to say, supporting me is checking out bundles on my site of the release in vinyl form and handwritten lyrics form, which costs your time and a piece of paper and pen, and you can charge $50. And then that second day, share another great way to support me is on Bandcamp. And then a whole 72 hours after release, then you could say I'm on Spotify. But the vast majority of artists who are not big that first day, they're just like, I'm on Spotify, give me fractions of a cent.
Okay.
So I think, to answer your question, information is how you convert them, because otherwise they're just going to follow you and that's it.
Next step in the funnel is something that I have been really interested in because it's unique for every artist. And I call this fan sanctuaries. You are creating fan sanctuaries using each artist in a mini community to get voting done.
Yeah.
I think of a perfect fan sanctuary is Diplo's Run Club. What a brilliant idea. It's who would put a techno DJ together with people doing something healthy and running. But when I think about that community and how cool participating in something like that is, it like blows my mind. I also think about like jam crews. Okay, like a bunch of like hippie jam bands are on a cruise boat with their people.
They're in heaven.
They're in heaven. These are examples of fan sanctuaries. And yet artists still think it's okay to create a crappy 45-minute set at a venue where they don't really care about you or what you're curating. They just are like wanting to sell X amount of tickets and alcohol and then get your ass out so they can get the next butts and seats. That's not a fan experience. Fan sanctuaries. Any thoughts, any ideas, any examples of things that have lit you up over the years of helping artists curate their own destinies?
What comes to mind right now is J. Cole, J. Cole, J. Cole, massive artist. He is going around in a Honda Civic with a trunk sale of his CDs, also pointing out selling them for $1 a CD, he'd have to get 100,000 streams to make $1 or whatever that is. He did a bike ride thing the other day, and then the Honda Civic broke down, so they all went to the car mechanic. My whole algorithm is J. Cole. I'll pick you up. DM me your address. There's a lot of things artists could learn from that too. You have a politician walking the length of Manhattan and people are like, oh my gosh, like I'm voting for you. I see you. Not to keep like banging about politics, but it's like then people are shooting their own content and promoting him and spreading the word. That's a lot different than just like sitting down on New York One or whatever.
Yeah, 100%. And I think obviously when you're talking about reach, when you're talking about fan acquisition, when you're talking about buy-in, politicians have to get that.
Yeah.
That's it. So it's a great model to look at. Sure. I think there's this terrible thing that happens, which is spurred on by thinking that 100,000 of something is necessary for it to be good.
Yeah.
A fan sanctuary moment could be you invite 20 people to a local park
Yes.
to have a picnic with you.
That's right.
Or you invite 15 people to your home the day your music comes out and you do appetizer party. It does not have to be that you're hanging the moon.
No.
It has to be about creating community. Part 7, repeatable systems. I think artists struggle so much with this. Repeatable systems, yes, you likely have a producer or a recording studio that you like. You know how to use DistroKid repeatably. Do you have an antidote or something to say about when it comes to marketing, fan acquisition, creating repeatable systems?
I kind of did. Create great art, connect with your audience in authentic ways. The art has to be authentic also. Collect that direct to fan contact info, mobile phone numbers and email addresses. And again, use those platforms the way they're using you. Like at any time you do anything, just here's my text list. When are you coming to Pittsburgh? Sign up for my text list. I'll let you know. Every interaction is an opportunity for you to be mining that information, because if you have some higher end price points and you want to have lower end, so you have price points for everyone, like you can make $1 million with 20,000 fans.
And that leads us right into the final step, which is 8, which is monetization. Until you've built the other things, this is something that we see all the time, right? Yeah. Artists come to us and they're like, I should order t-shirts. I should set up Shopify. Should you? Who are you going to ask to buy this stuff? That's a huge problem. Like just because you've read somewhere that fans will buy things.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean it's time to sell.
That's right. So again, the long lead pre-order, you could even press up some CDs. It's so interesting. My amazing mentee and COO, Annie Wu, was just at a show where an artist was burning CDs of the live show. This artist was charging like $50 or something, and he only did 100 CDs, which was also interesting because it's kind of unlimited technology. But like made it a special thing. But that's actually another revenue stream. And then even on shirts, oh my gosh, like I just was talking to a dear friend who's a veteran of marketing and an artist. He was working with a creative designer who wanted like a million colors on the shirt. And that is so expensive. And then the t-shirt was like $75 and nobody bought it. Right. So again, think about the experiences. It could be custom voicemail, right? There's no cost of goods sold there. You could offer recordings of your shows on your Patreon only, for subscription on your website, for donation. So think about the things that you want and that you cherish as a fan, and then provide those experiences for your audience. That's what's going to connect, not the BS that's out here. And even though these platforms are built to be addicting and create FOMO, if you truly can't handle the FOMO, reach out to those other artists and say, hey, can we get coffee? Hop on a Zoom. And you might find out they have FOMO about over what you have going on. And like rising tides really do lift all boats. Like we're one creative artistic community. So like get together, share that knowledge. But yeah, ultimately it's your great art and connecting with your audience.
Emily White, I have no other question. Thank you so much.
My pleasure. That was so fun.
This is not about more followers or more streams. It's about real fans who actually support you. If you want to go deeper, check out the free Buzz to Bond webinar in the show notes, or visit CyberPR Music for over 300 articles and strategies for today's music business. Less buzz, more bond.